I move that this bill now be read a second time. Mr Deputy Speaker, Australia is a country that embraces freedom of speech, a country that embraces freedom of political association. We respect the right of individuals to espouse their political views with few exceptions. Appropriately, we don't allow speech that is defamatory, obscene, incites violence or hate, or is racially discriminatory. Implicit in these freedoms, however, is respect for the speaker and respect for the listener, the intended audience. Respect in this context meaning if a person does not ascribe to someone's political views, they should not have to listen to them. In most circumstances, we can choose not to listen. If a political party wishes to promote their policy on television or radio, we can change channel or simply turn off. We can flick the page of a newspaper with nothing more than a cursory glance, and completely ignore the pamphlets that overflow our letterboxes if we choose so. Electronic communication, on the other hand, is quite different. At its very core, it intrudes our most personal devices, our mobile phones. A text message or a recorded phone message is immediate, directed, and an invasion of our privacy. And currently, there is no escape. If a member of this House, a political party or candidate, is prepared to buy a database, they instantly can have access to each and every voter they wish to target. What makes receiving political text messages particularly annoying is that individuals don't sign up for it. Unlike commercial messages, which are subject to the Spam Act, individuals have typically opted to have their details registered with a retailer or another commercial entity. As such, there is tacit acceptance that they will be contacted by these entities. Importantly, they can opt out of any point as commercial messaging must contain an unsubscribe feature, and this is not the case for political text messages. Do people really care about this? The answer is an emphatic yes. In recent months, my electorate office has received many calls from constituents who are angry after receiving multiple text messages from a member in this chamber. They wanted answers to questions like, why are they receiving these texts? How did the sender get their details? They didn't sign up to receive political texts, and they wanted to know how they could stop receiving them. My staff, bearing the brunt of these calls, had to advise constituents that despite annoying intrusions into their lives, the texts were legal. This was met with complete astonishment and respectful demands that something be done about it. This anger is not restricted to my electorate either. Australians across the country have voiced their concerns. They do not like receiving political text messages. They've simply had enough. This is evidenced by more than 4,000 complaints made to ACMA in 2021 alone. However, ACMA is completely powerless to act on the thousands of complaints because political messages are exempt from the laws that prohibit unsolicited communications. Instead, political parties, sitting members and candidates are free to harass Australians with a bombardment of unwanted messages. This is unfair, and I seek the support of this House to make this stop. This bill gives the power back to Australians. It amends the Commonwealth Electoral Act 1918 and the Spam Act 2003 with the express purpose to give consumers more control over what they receive from political parties and individual politicians. At the very essence of this bill, it requires the sending party to provide an unsubscribe option to opt-out feature for the receiver, just like commercial entities do. It strikes a fair balance between the rights of political parties, independents and candidates to freely communicate with voters on political and electoral matters and the rights of consumers to decide which political messages they wish to receive. The bill does not deny political freedoms or the rights to communicate one's political beliefs. It does not deny political parties, politicians or candidates the right to campaign or communicate their political ideology. Rather, it rightfully gives everyday Australians the power to stop receiving persistent and unwanted calls and texts. The bill also requires actors in voice calls featuring electoral material to be identified to make it clear to those listening that the actors are performing a part, so that an actor posing as a nurse, a teacher or a small business owner, for example, are not mistaken for real people. It provides honesty and transparency, which is badly needed in this place. My Centre Alliance colleague, Sterling Griff, introduced a similar bill in the other place back in 2019. The original bill was ultimately rejected by the Environment and Communications Legislation Committee because the proposed changes would have unduly affected the charity sector. This bill addresses these concerns by restricting amendments to political communications only. The previous charity clauses are not present in this bill and leave no justification for this bill to be rejected by the House. The implied freedom of political communication protected by our Constitution is not impinged by this bill. As such, I say to all members in this place, if you truly respect the opinion and rights of Australians, you will support this bill. Thank you.